Welcome to episode 4 of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, along with Zach Rom and Brian Bruner. I'm Patrick Jacks, and tonight we're coming at you with quarterback ADP. We're going to start touching on ADPs of the quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end. After a couple of weeks, we've told you the why, the what and why of how we try to analyze things, but now that that's all said and done, we get to talk about the players we like, players we don't like, according to ADP from a couple various sites, Keep Trade Cut, our website. Fellas, how you doing?
Good. Look forward to this. This is going to be. I love talking about some good QBs. So they're a strong foundation for your team. So it'll be fun seeing how we all value them differently.
I'm hyped to do it. I'm a known quarterback whore. Always have been. If 60 so leagues, I have exactly one quarterback dynasty league. Every other one is super flex. So
yeah,
I'm all about every one of those quarterbacks with a chance to get a start.
Man, once upon a time, one QB, that's all there was. And it was cool to take a quarterback in the first round. The first league I ever played in, I took Peyton Manning third overall. I think it was his second or third season, took him all the way to the Super Bowl. I had no idea what I was doing. And some people might argue that I still don't, but
I don't know if I do yet.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
All right, so according to Keep Trade Cut, there's a pretty universal 5 quarterbacks at the top of the mountain: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. You can make argument for any of them 1 through 5. Keep Trade Cut has Allen 1, Daniels 2, Jackson 3, Burrow 4, and Hurts 5. How do y'all think? Nothing earth-shattering there.
I think Keep Trade Cut in particular, depending on what time of the day you look at it, Daniels and Allen tend to flip-flop. Like the screenshot I have this morning, this was at, 10, 11 this morning, Eastern time. Keep Trade Cut goes by a value, like a point system. So Jaden Daniels, as of this morning, was number 1 at 9,991, and Josh Allen was just behind him at 9,984. But I think all offseason, the two of them have just kind of flip-flopped. So, like you said, top 5, it's kind of splitting hairs. It's pretty universal. In most startup drafts, those are your super flex startup drafts. Those are your first 5 picks, as they rightfully should be. The difference that I would say in 6-point passing touchdown, you could argue Burrow maybe goes up a little bit higher because he tends to throw more passing touchdowns, or in leagues where you get some type of passing bonus, completion bonus, first down passing, he could bump a little bit. In 4-point passing touchdown, the other 4, Hurts, Jackson, Allen, Daniels, already cheat codes, and they're even more cheat code in the 4-point passing. So I don't really feel the need to ramble much longer than that on them, but I know you guys certainly have opinions on the top 5 there.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, these top 5 are pretty consistent throughout. Someone might sneak in above Hurts, or if you don't like Burrow's injury history, you might have a different 5 there. But it's really hard to argue against those first 3 or 4 guys being at the top of the list. And really, you're cutting hairs to some extent as to where you go. Like pretty much always, you're going to see the first 3 picks of a super flex startup be Daniels, Lamar, and Allen in any order. You could get 20 different startups and it'd be different every time. You'd have probably a third of each in each spot in each pick. So it's really cutting hairs at that point. I'd have Daniels a little further back. He's a rookie. He did it once. He did great. Quarterback 5 his rookie year, but you see a sophomore slump. If you're saying he's at the peak of his value now, and he doesn't have somewhere up to go at this point, I'd be trying to sell him for that kind of value. But in reality, I think, those top 3, 4, 5 guys is pretty consistent.
Yeah, I really, really like Daniels. I liked him as a rookie last year coming out. A lot of people were afraid of, he was in college for so long. He's kind of old, but I was a really liked what I saw. There's some Terry McLaurin holdout news. Does any of that worry you for 2025?
It doesn't give me much concern. I feel like everything you hear about Terry McLaurin is that he's stand-up dude, good locker room guy, always been kind of like Mr. Commander / Washington football team / Redskins since he got there. He wants to capitalize. It's going to be his last big payday. Had the nice touchdown season last year. I don't think he'd hold out to the point where it starts negatively affecting him or Daniels. So I wouldn't factor that in necessarily. The sophomore slump and the fact that the NFL has some tape on him, similar to plenty of people that have struggled after a solid first year, that frightens me a little bit more, just with how high you have to take him. He's literally, as of this morning, the highest valued player in Dynasty according to Keep Trade Cut. So all these guys are going to cost you a ton to trade for, and they're going to cost you like your high startup pick. So bet on the guy you like, but I have no beef with you taking any of these guys as your number one for sure.
Agreed. Yeah, and the McLaurin holdout, I would akin it to T. Higgins holdout. Like, it's not really going to end up affecting too much. It's going to be something where it might go into the offseason a little more, but I expect McLaurin to be back on the field, rearing to go. And I think he's, whether it's his age, whether it's this holdout, I think McLaurin's really undervalued as a dynasty asset right now. He's a little older, but I think he's got a few good years left as a side note. But yeah, no, that doesn't affect my value of Daniels at all.
I was really hoping they added something other than Deebo Samuel. Really hoping they drafted somebody, but the Commanders' offense is almost exactly what it was last year. Hopefully, Daniels can keep making some strides. No other qualms. Last year, Josh Allen threw the second lowest passes in a full season in his career. He only had 307 completions. They've drafted Keon Coleman, barely threw to him. They traded for Amari Cooper, barely threw to him. I like quarterbacks that throw a little bit. We know he can, but any of these five have a risk of falling out of the top five this year?
Certainly risks for all. I'd say Burrow and Daniels would probably be the two that I think have the most risk of falling out, just because with Burrow really having no mobility, or not mobility, but no rushing stats, he has to do what he did last year to stay up there. Like, he's got to be 45, 4,700, 4,900 yards and 40 plus touchdowns, meaning he's got to stay healthy, be consistent. He's got the offense to do it, the shitty defense making him throw. So, it all factors in there, but Burrow has some injury past, and if he doesn't have, a flawless throwing season, he could easily be QB 9 or 10. And Daniels, just with the potential sophomore slump, we've only seen it once. Again, the league is smart. They've seen tape on him now. They've had all year to study it. So I think those two are the riskiest. I know Allen doesn't throw much, but he's the most consistent of them. Look at Allen's last 5 years. He's like QB 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, or whatever it is. I'm just off the top of my head there, but it's literally that. Like, the dude hasn't done anything but dominate, even in lower throwing seasons. He just gets enough rushing scores, gets enough rushing yards. He throws enough to combine with that to get it done. So Allen's the horse, man. He's the leagues I have him in. He's, unless something crazy happens, he's dying on that roster for sure.
Man, imagine if he did throw more.
Yeah. If I was to pick a QB that would stick in the top three by the end of next season, it'd be Josh Allen. Like, he can throw, he can rush, he can do it all. Like, yeah, you have James Cook who's coming into his own, you have the wide receivers, but whatever his offensive talents can't do, Josh Allen can do. And there's also, he talked about how he was playing with a fracture in his left hand this past year, so that could have impacted his passing ability. And so I think outside of injury, if you don't take potential injuries into account, because those can throw entire values off, I think the two people I would think are most likely to drop out of the top five would be Jaden Daniels, again, just because it's his rookie season. He's done it once. I want to see him do it again. I also wonder about Jalen Hurts. He's got the great offensive weapons, but when you look at his rushing upside, I think I read Saquon Barkley was stopped on the 1 yard line like a dozen times.
A lot. Like it was 9.
At least half of those went to Hurts, if not most of them, with the tush push.
All but one. I heard it. One of the big CBS pod brought it up. Like he got stopped at the one like 10 or 11 times, and 9 or 10 of them were Hurts rushing touchdowns.
Exactly. So like if Barkley had 1 more yard 10 times, how much lower is Jalen Hurts scoring this last year and such? And his passing, he didn't pass as much as last year. Like, sure, they have a great high-flying offense, but I wonder if, I don't expect Hurts to drop out of the top 10, but out of the top 5, Hurts might trickle down to QB 7 or 8, just with if his rushing upside, those TDs kind of start falling off some. I think Lamar, as long as he stays healthy, will stay top 5. I think Joe Burrow with their high-flying offense, T. Higgins, Chase, whoever's their third, you got Chase Brown in there, you got Gesicki in there. I think that offense, I think Burrow is a lock to be in top 5 as long as he doesn't get injured. Who knows with their O-line, though. He could be running for his life, and he can't run to save his life. So, but, yeah, I think Hurts and Daniels might be the ones to potentially drop out the top 5, depending on how this year goes. Again, barring taking all playing 17 games, no injuries into account.
Right.
I wanted to vet the stats real quick before I said this, but Lamar Jackson has these 2 God-level seasons that he won the MVP, where he was the overall one player. We're talking one was 2019 when he did that first time, and one was last year, 2024, literally the number 1 player in fantasy. The time in between, depending on your scoring format, he was legitimately like quarterback 10, 14, 12, and then 4 last year. So he had, if you paid up for him after that MVP season, he gave you 3 consecutive seasons of barely being a quarterback 1 or just outside of quarterback 1. So, and those were all healthy. Well, no, he did miss a couple games there, but at the end of the day, Lamar carries some risk too. I love him. I mean, he's such a highlight reel, and last 2 years he was quarterback 4 and quarterback 1 again. So he's hella good. But there's risk with everybody.
That's a great question for Lamar. Do you think he repeats and throws 40 touchdowns and under 5 interceptions?
And his touchdown percentage was wild.
And he barely threw for 4,000 yards, which was a career high for him. But his passing was on point this last year. That's, I think, what really separated him from the pack. And if he can keep that up, they're finally getting offensive weapons. If Andrews stays healthy, they got Flowers, they got Hopkins. If he can keep that up, I think he's going to do great. But again, he has this with his running capabilities. He has he's prone to injury.
That's why I like them just statues standing in the pocket. All the greats, Brady, Montana, Manning, Marino, they were statues. I know it was 40 years ago. The game is completely different, but I like a good pocket passer.
I know Tom Brady's old, but he didn't play 40 years ago.
No.
It's not been that long. He's still not even in the Hall of Fame. So
yeah.
I think he's going to. I think they're fitting that gold jacket for him.
Oh, easy.
Just a hunch.
Yeah.
I hope his bust is ugly.
Just make him like a wart. That pretty boy motherfucker.
I love it.
Eating bad.
All right. Heading to the next 5. The next 5 is where there could be some debate. I'm especially surprised at the 6th quarterback. The next 5 per Keep Trade Cut is Patrick Mahomes, Drake May at 7. I had to refresh my page. Drake May at 7, Caleb Williams at 8, Justin Herbert 9, Bo Nix 10. Take it away.
And this is crazy because, again, we sent screenshots this morning, and you were saying it was Caleb Williams 8. What was the 8, 9, 10 again you just said?
Williams, Herbert, Nix.
Williams, Herbert, Nix. Just this morning, it was Herbert, Nix, Williams. So those 3 seem to be very interchangeable at 8, 9, 10 there. For me,
pulse in the community.
Exactly. It seems that their value is all within, as you mentioned earlier, the point system for keep trade cut determines their rank, and they're all within 10, 15 points of each other. So they're going to be flip-flopping left and right. But I prepared some stats for Drake May because I saw his QB value and I couldn't believe it. Now, I want to preface this. I'm a Patriots fan. I want Drake May to succeed. His value at QB7 is utterly ridiculous. Let's look at what he did last year.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Looking at his last 10 games, because that's when he played, even not just his last 10, the games he played over 80, 90% of the snaps on. I just took those into account. If you take that into account, he averaged 17.4 points per game. That was good enough for QB 13 on a points per average game last year. If you put that out to all 17 games, that was good for 295 points, which is good for QB 11. Drake May, I believe, was closer to QB 18 than QB 7 last year with the points he made. We're looking at people saying, again, he finished great. Yeah, he finished great, but not QB 7 great. I mean, I love my Patriots. They did not add great offensive weapons outside of Henderson, and that's more, he's great pass catching back, but Drake May does not deserve to be QB7. He does not deserve to be in the top 10 for fantasy QBs. I'm making a list for Dynasty QBs. He's not in my top 15 right now. And again, I'm a Patriots fan. I want him to succeed. He does not deserve to be that high, and if you have him, I'm selling him for as much as I can at this point.
I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, he's going that high. It's bananas. Just to take a little devil's advocate side of it, the only thing I will say is this isn't necessarily a Drake May take or whatever, but community value and where people see him in keep trade cut rankings and fantasy pro rankings and ADP and sleeper, startup rankings, it matters. Whether you agree with the take, whether you think he's overrated, whether you think this, and again, it's not specific to May, but with anybody. So I do have to factor that in. So like where I took May in a startup recently because there was one or two players I liked more than him, but he's a guy that he's tempting to everyone in the league. You can sell him to contenders, you can sell him to middle of the pack, you can sell him to full tear down rebuilders. It's the rushing flashes, it's the age, it's the fact that he was drafted so highly. All those things factor in, but I don't disagree whatsoever with your take. QB7 just behind Mahomes. There's multiple guys that I'd prefer to just have in a vacuum. But like I said, man, you really do have to just factor in what the rest of the world thinks about him. Like I might come out and be like, man, I love Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy's incredible. I think he's the number 4 quarterback in Dynasty. That's how I personally feel. No one gives a shit. It doesn't make him more valuable. No. But the fact that the majority of the fantasy community views May that valuable, you got to factor that into what he's worth and where he should be. But yeah, man, overrated. Sell him if you can get those QB7 prices, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and the points per game breakdown, I think when people see quarterback rankings, they'll see whoever you have 8, 9, 10, and whoever you have 19, 20, 21. And people love to argue, you're insane. You don't know what you're talking about. When you break it down like point per game wise, 9 through 21 is probably a difference of 3 to 4 points a game over the course of a season. It's a negligible impact. Guys, it's okay. You don't need to be mad if your favorite quarterback is ranked 19th. He could just as well be 9th the next week at the end of the season. For May, how much is it the Josh McDaniels factor? I think that might have a lot to do with it. He's done wonders every year. It seems he was in New England. I think his last season in New England was 21, and he took even Mac Jones had a QB 18 season. So if he could make Mac Jones QB 18, maybe I'm a little low on May.
Yeah, but look at Mac Jones last year in Jacksonville with what he did with Brian Thomas Jr. and such. Like, Mac Jones, while he's a good backup, has some talent to him. I think May is a lot of the people saw potential. They saw some flashes towards the end of the season. I'm sure there's recency bias in that. Like if it was flipped and May missed the last 6 games, his value would be lower because recency, he didn't play. Whereas I think it's a draft capital. I think people are loving Kyle Williams. I'm a fan of him, but I don't think he's a game changer. I love Stephon Diggs. I don't think he's a game changer for May. Like people see these small things and think it's going to be an amazing offense. And I think it's going to be a middle of the pack offense. I want to see those big years again for the Patriots, but I think I still think we're a middle of the pack team. You can't add a bunch of mid-tier players to have an elite offense.
So just like rapid fire with May, youth, draft capital, rushing upside, flashed a little bit like towards the end of last year, so recency bias, new proven offensive coordinator, new proven head coach, Diggs, Kyle Williams, Travion Henderson, like it's all snowball into why he's sitting there at 7. Again, don't agree with it, but get it. I mean, I understand. It's like it's nothing but hype train. Like there's really nothing's happened since the end of last year that would make you go, "Oh, I think we should drop Drake May some." It's big old freight train of hype, man.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll even move to another QB I think should be lower on this list. I love him. I think he's a great real-life QB. I think he's a player that is a better real-life quarterback than a fantasy quarterback just with the weapons he has. I don't agree with Patrick Mahomes being at 6.
I was going to ask if we really feel he's 6.
I think, when you look at him, like last year he gave you a QB 11 finish. It was 8, 1, 4, 4, 7, 1, like amazing. But when you look at it, he had Tyreek Hill in his prime. He had Travis Kelce in his prime previously. Now you have a better run game with Pacheco, Hunt. You run into, do you trust their wide receivers? Jalen Royals is potential, but you have the shell of himself, a Marquise Brown that may be good. Worthy, I think, is boomer bust. He'll win you a week in fantasy, but then he'll drop a dud. He's not consistent enough for Mahomes. Kelce, you saw Kelce, he was up and down throughout last year. He's getting to the point where he's getting to the Rob Gronkowski phase, where he almost needs to be on the field to be a threat, but you're not going to throw to him in certain games because you need him to be fresh for the end of the season playoffs.
Oh, busted.
Yeah, but that doesn't help Mahomes. I think I love Mahomes. I think he's going to win the Chiefs a lot of games and continue to. But when you look at what he did, I think there's a legitimate case to wonder if Mahomes needs to be outside the top 10 quarterbacks for fantasy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the scariest thing is they have found a different way to win. Multiple years in a row now.
Yes.
They have a fantastic defense. They can run the ball with fucking Kareem Hunt. They put it. I mean, they're content to do that, and they've had a dynasty with it. They won back-to-back Super Bowls and went to 3 in a row. And they got their ass stomped the fuck on by my Philadelphia Eagles in the last one. Motherfuckers. Payback for that the one that they beat us in. But anyway, I mean, I don't see why all of a sudden they're going to look at, whatever their record was over the last 3 years with 3 consecutive Super Bowl appearances and 2 wins and go, you know what? This clearly isn't working. Let's start fucking airing it out again. I think that's my biggest fear with Mahomes. I think if he was put in a situation where they had a shit defense, he could easily do 5,040 again. The dude's a magician on the field.
Yeah.
And he runs the ball too, sneakily. One of my favorite little parlay legs to put in is Patrick Mahomes for 25 rushing yards.
Oh, yeah.
Every fucking game, he just has that one little takeoff down the sideline where he gets like 17 to 20, and then he'll have 1 or 2 more for 5 or 6. And it's a free square. It's like the David Montgomery anytime touchdown. They're like the 2. I always check them too.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean, at 6, like he's the next guy in that list. I think, man, I'm just looking at it as well. Again, I'm looking at the one from 10 this morning, so it's a little bit different. But
yeah,
I mean, certainly would have Mahomes over May. I still think I would take Mahomes over Justin Herbert. When you get into like Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, those two, it's kind of like fun and spicy to take them over Mahomes with the youth and potential upside. But I wouldn't have Mahomes much lower. I still have him somewhere in like the top 8-9 probably, and I can argue for him to be there because I think if their defense does fall off a little bit or Rice and Worthy really step up and play to the level they've shown, they could be a semi-high flying offense again. But as long as that defense is good, that's the biggest red flag for Mahomes, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what people were expecting out of Worthy is I think people were thinking Worthy would be 80, 90% of what Tyreek Hill was with his speed, and he'd really push Mahomes back to what he was before, and I really don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, as long as Reed and Spagnuolo were there, they found like the boringest possible way to win. They made Pacheco look like a star. Kareem Hunt found the fountain of youth. It's boring. It's similar to how the Bills are winning with Josh Allen barely throwing. They took Mahomes and his 5,000 yards a year and his 40 touchdowns. They said, wait, we don't have to do that. And Chiefs got really boring and very fantasy unfriendly almost overnight. So yeah, I had to pump the brakes there for a little bit. Like, yeah, Mahomes really isn't the fantasy darling he once was. So 6 is I honestly think I'd take all of the others in that range over Mahomes. Mahomes might be like 10 or 11 for me for now.
Drake May or Mahomes?
Mahomes.
Man, I think there's always the possibility of. I think if Pacheco is Thanos dust, like I think he is, he looked awful after the leg injury. Kareem Hunt has to fall apart someday. If they can't run the ball, I don't think we'll see it coming. It'll just be all of a sudden 350 yards passing, 375 yards passing. And the division is getting better too. The Broncos have probably one of the best defenses in the NFL. The Chargers are getting better every day. Pete Carroll's probably going to make the Raiders a little bit better than they have been. The Chiefs used to have a fairly easy division. I don't think so anymore. Mahomes might have to push it a little bit more than he has.
Yeah, that's why 6 is probably a little high, but I can't put him much lower than that. When I start looking at the names behind him, all question marks and potential issues and stuff. So we've seen it from him. Again, his scenario is what scares me away from him. It has nothing to do with what that dude can do on the field.
Yeah, agreed. That's why I think he's a better football player than fantasy player for that purposes. Like looking at my list, I got Herbert ahead of him. I got Nix, Stroud, Caleb Williams ahead of him, just because of what those offenses and quarterbacks are going to do to win. Like Mahomes this last season scored 24 points, and they're going to win. Those other teams, they're going to need to score a lot of points. Bo Nix was QB7 his rookie year, and they added more weapons. They added R.J. Harvey. They added Ingram. Caleb Williams is finally getting into his own. The Bears got smart and finally fired a head coach. And then Stroud he barely had his weapons due to injury. Diggs got injured. Nico Collins got injured. Tank Della's probably done forever. And they add, if Nico Collins stays healthy, I love Jaden Higgins there. I think Stroud is going to have a similar season. I think part of his slump is due to injuries. I have a hard time putting Mahomes ahead of those guys just with what they have shown and what their teams are going to have to do to win. I still have Mahomes in my top 10, but I have those guys ahead of him.
So, yeah,
those other three are going to be really fun to watch. Herbert, Williams, Nix. I think those three all are in great situations. I really like what the Broncos did to get Nix more weapons, kind of what the Commanders should have done with Daniels, I feel. And Chargers are adding some talent, even though they did bring Mike Williams back for some reason. They should have just left him out to pasture. And then I really like what the Bears are doing. Caleb Williams only threw, I think, 3 interceptions the entire season, which is incredible for a rookie.
Yeah. He was smart with the ball.
Yeah, I like Knicks a lot. I think I brought it up last episode or 2 episodes ago. I drafted a ton of Bo Nix, and it is off fucking spades, man. I still have some shares, but I was able to sell him for some fantastic price tags because he wasn't even one of my top 2 quarterbacks. He was generally my third, sometimes my fourth, because I took him in rookie drafts, on championship teams or teams that finished second and pick 11, pick 12. And he's been wonderful. And, he's locked in with Sean Payton, got the weapons. So, yeah, I think of all those guys, going that next group of Mahomes, May, Herbert, Nix, Caleb, I think I probably have Nix, Caleb maybe as the top 2 there. Then maybe coin flip between Herbert and May. And then, I don't know. They're all pretty interchangeable. It's kind of like the first 5. You could certainly make a case.
Yeah.
Split the hairs. I think we all agree that May being listed that high is probably the outlier there that we could all pretty heavily disagree with.
And I think I got Herbert as my quarterback 5 this next year.
Okay.
I think he is going to I think he's going to do great things. When you look at the Chargers offense, they had a hard time keeping the ball offensively. And they made the right picks with getting Hampton, getting Harris for Herbert. We've seen Herbert succeed. We've seen him do great things. And then last year, we saw Mike Williams go. We saw Keenan Allen go. All of a sudden, they didn't have much of an offense going. One interesting thing, the Patriots, the Cardinals, and the Saints all had more offensive snaps last year than the Chargers. The Chargers were in the bottom 6 or 7 teams with offensive snaps. I think getting Hampton to get those first downs, push forward, get Harris coming up to play Batman and Robin with Lad McConkey. I think that offense is going to surprise people, and I think they're going to give the Chiefs a run for their money in that division. That division is going to be very competitive, and I think Herbert, fantasy-wise, is going to go back to what he did his first couple of years, and I expect him to jump in value.
I do love him value, startup pick-wise. He's middle to late second a lot of the time, so you could do your superstar Malik Neighbors, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase potentially in the first, and then grab Herbert as your main QB there, or one of the stud running backs if you're in a points per carry league. So I definitely have nothing bad to say about Herbert. Dude's done nothing but show that he's a superstar player. He might have the biggest fucking cannon connected to his shoulder in the league. I remember that one game. It was maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 now because time flies. But it was the Week 18 Sunday night game. So it was technically the last game of the regular season. It was them versus the Raiders, I think. And it was if the Chargers won, they got into the playoffs. And Herbert was just out there throwing fucking 50-yard missiles to keep the Chargers in it. And the Raiders kept scoring. And it was I remember thinking, man, this is this dude's coming out party. Everybody already knew he was good, but the whole world got to watch that. It was the only game on TV, and he was just fighting his ass off to get his team into the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing bad to say about him, man.
Yeah.
That was a tie game, right? Where one of them had to win.
I think it was a tie.
Or they both missed the playoffs and they
the Steelers
tied.
ended up making the playoffs because the game was a tie or something like that. I forget what
what was it? I think it was if it ended in a tie, both teams would go in the playoffs, and I think that might have been it. Yeah, it's either way. That was an amazing game.
It just went to the wire, and it was like watching Madden on live TV, and Herbert was the superstar. He was just. They would go down. It's they needed they needed this 57-yard touchdown on 4th down, and he fucking threw it, and it was just, yeah, man, that dude. He was such a young rookie that I think he's still 26 with even how long he's been in the league.
Yeah, he's young.
That's a good week. Week 18 games are not usually that exciting.
You know who's a big fan of Week 18 games? Drake London. That dude fucking. If he didn't have the Week 18 that he did. He finishes 9 spots lower in overall receiver last year. He had the monstrosity game.
Oh yeah,
that helped no one's fantasy team.
Yeah, Herbert's 27 right now.
No, 27.
Yeah, but this is his 6th year. He's still
Right. Crazy.
young.
And quarterback years, that's nothing. These guys play till they're, especially like super mobile ones, dude. He could easily play till he's 39, 40, 43, whatever, Batch on the keep trade cut. If we're stopping it with Caleb there, the next 5 is Stroud, Jordan Love, J.J. McCarthy, Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray. Another group I would say you can make a case for any of them to be the top of that group and any of them to be the bottom of that group. They're all pretty close to me in value. My favorite in that group is probably Purdy, just because I love that system. I love the weapons they put around him. He's done nothing but great since he got it. He's improved the entire time. He's lost some weapons. He doesn't always have that full repertoire or full, assortment of weapons, but it seems like they just bring dudes like Jawan Jennings come in and just fill it right in. And I like I like Purdy the best there, but they're all super close to me. So what do you guys think about that 5?
I think it really depends on what you're aiming for, because in this range you're looking at your quarterback 2, unless you really have that, unless you're getting 2 quarterbacks right away. This is your quarterback 2 range that you're looking at. You're looking at your 3rd to 5th round startup picks here. That are you going for upside with Kyler Murray and his rushing and hoping him and Marvin Harrison Jr. really connect? Are you hoping that finally Green Bay has a wide receiver 1 and not just a bunch of wide receiver 3s running around like monkeys? Or are you looking for consistency like Brock Purdy or even Stroud to some extent? For me, the odd man out here, I think, is J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy needs to drop outside and drop down to the 17 to 19 range. And that's not a knock on him, but more a testament to the talent that we are seeing in the quarterback and fantasy space right now. Like when you look at J.J. McCarthy, I'm thinking of a guy that is similar to what I expect out of Purdy. Not someone who's going to go out and be high-flying offense like what we were talking about with Herbert or with Burrow. Not someone that's going to win you the game with his arm. Like, he's going to get the job done. He's going to get it to his guys. But the reason you're going to win, in my opinion, is not going to be McCarthy. It's going to be your other playmakers. And for that, I would drop him down some. Like, when I was looking at him, I was like, okay, what did he do in college? J.J. McCarthy never averaged more than 200 yards passing in a season in college. He only, in his best year in college, he averaged 23 pass attempts per game. Even in college at Michigan, they didn't have him being the center point of their offense as a passing threat.
Nope.
And so he has that rushing upside. I think Minnesota picked him saying, okay, he's the safe option. He can get it to Jefferson. He can get it to Addison, Hawkinson if he's healthy. And I think he's going to get the job done. But he's going to be, in my opinion, that borderline of, do I start him as my quarterback in my superflex spot or do I start someone else? And I don't know if I'm going to get to that point where I can confidently feel like I don't want to upgrade my super flex spot with McCarthy. And in my mind, then I think he's got to drop back some. Like when you're looking at draft capital, when you look at, I would rather have Cam Ward. I know some people would definitely make the argument Baker Mayfield used to have ahead of him. Penix showed some amazing flashes. Young showed some amazing flashes. We haven't seen anything out of McCarthy yet. And so I think he's the odd man out here, but the rest is just kind of pick your flavor as to what you want your quarterback to be.
With McCarthy, it's all, like you said, we've literally seen nothing from him. The dude hasn't thrown a pass in the regular season of the NFL yet.
Yeah.
With as far as his Michigan production, I don't think that was so much on him as the Jim Harbaugh.
There was
a game where he threw the ball fucking 4 times, or somebody vet me on that, but there was literally a game where they threw it 4 times, 7 times, or like something insane. Like in a game that they won because they were just able to just run the ball down the opponent's throat. And I think with McCarthy, I do agree. He's the odd man out, and we haven't seen anything. He could suck, but I think the factors that have him this high are somewhat similar to May in that it's hype, it's draft capital, it's youth, it's the fact that we haven't seen anything out of him yet. I think the biggest one is a guy named Sam Darnold is the reason why McCarthy's so high. Sam fucking Darnold, I see ghosts. Sam Darnold was the QB 8, depending on format, in this exact offense last year. That is the same, if not better, with these superstars around them, a fully healthy TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison with his nose for the end zone, Justin Jefferson, arguably the best receiver in football, a very good offensive line, 2 capable running backs. I don't disagree that he's
making my point for me. You're making my point for me.
That's all. Again, that's why the dude's there. That's why he's this high on the list. But that 5, he's definitely the odd man out. We've seen the other ones produce. We've seen them be quarterback ones, basically, over a season or more. So, it's all hope with him. I think where McCarthy is maybe the one you might want over the other ones is if you were drafting a squad that was like a pure rebuild, or you're drafting all youth, or you're like a tear down orphan type team. Maybe that's the guy that you send some old players for, just because he has. I think McCarthy has a scenario where even if he fails this year, the Vikings are going to give him another year, maybe 2. I don't know. I guess
it depends. I mean, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. Will he get another season? Will they waste more with more of Hawkinson and McCarthy's and Addison's, not McCarthy, Jefferson's age?
Yeah,
it's a good question.
I don't know if they have. Yeah, I mean, it's all risk. I think it's all hope with McCarthy, and I think again, I honestly do fully believe that what Sam Darnold did last year is arguably the biggest factor in why people are so into this kid. Again, the youth, the draft capital, all that. But
if
Sam Darnold really has a lot to do with this.
JJ McCarthy can do it. It's the Kevin O'Connell factor. He made Kirk Cousins a household name. He had led the Sam Darnold transformation and the Nick Mullins era. I bring this up in chat all the time. Nick Mullins had almost 2 400-yard games at the wheel of the Vikings. I really, really think that J.G. McCarthy is better than Nick Mullins. It's just like the Shanahan system breeds running backs. The Kevin O'Connell system I could be QB 15 for the Vikings. I think McCarthy finishes the highest of these 5 by the end of the year.
You don't know how much I would pay to see you be quarterback of the Vikings.
If I was ever quarterback a team, it would make Tua's average depth of target look high. I'd be just firing at the back of the helmet of my running back
every second.
You're watching these freaking nasty Jalen Carter looking behemoths flying in at me at 100 miles an hour, man. I'm just spiking that ball in just fetal position tuck, man.
Yeah. Of the others, I think they all have I would put maybe McCarthy at the top of those. It's a little bold. I do like Purdy, McCarthy, but I think the other 3 really have some red flags. The offensive line for the Texans is the worst in all of football. I think C.J. Stroud was sacked the 3rd most. I think it was 55, 56 times last season. We've only seen, similar to the Jaden Daniels conversation, we've only seen one really good year of Stroud, and lazy comparison here, he's an Ohio State quarterback. And for a long time, Ohio State quarterbacks kind of get a bad rap, like, oh, there aren't many good, successful Ohio State quarterbacks. I like Stroud. I think he's broken the mold of that lazy comparison. Maybe Stroud isn't as good as rookie Stroud that we saw. Jordan Love does not run much at all. He only had 3 games of over 250 yards passing last year. That might not be on him. Like Zach said, he might have just a whole bunch of wide receiver 3s. Christian Watson's not good. Romeo Dobbs is just a guy. They quit throwing to Jaden Reed for some reason.
He was dropping the ball a ton.
I think he has the worst supporting cast of all of them, and I think this might be Kyler Murray's last year in Arizona. His contract might say otherwise. I might be completely wrong here, but I just.
There's no
I'm
way.
not a Murray believer.
If they struggle again, if Kyler looks bad and they don't figure out how to utilize Marv and do a notable step forward, I could see Gannon and Kyler fucking gone. Like,
Yeah.
just eat whatever the contract is. I can't imagine, like, being an Arizona fan if year after year after year they keep rolling this out, and then this year it gets no better, and it's just a bunch of checkdowns to Trey McBride in a losing season, and Kyler looks, subpar. How the fuck do they just go out in 2026 like, hey, it's Kyler again, let's make it? No, they're done. I agree. I think unless there's a notable step forward. And I think my beef with Kyler is when you look at his QB finishes since he got here, I think they're almost all top 10, top 12 as far as like points per game. He only had really the one bad injury where he missed like any substantial time, but it's all boom games for him. He's like the definition of a good best ball and not a good lineup quarterback, because he'll have these random 37-point weeks where you're like, all right, sweet, that's why I drafted Kyler. And then it's just 5 consecutive weeks of 12 points, 11 points, 14 points, 9 points. And it's like, Jesus, why? I've got a tight end on my bench that just scored more than this clown. And then you bench him and he has a fucking 38-point week. And at the end of the year, that equates out to 19 fantasy points a game. And Kyler was the QB9 last year. Oh, I guess he's not that bad. Kyler's the most.
It's a lot of empty calories. He is empty calories.
He's fucking French fries.
His top season or two early on, he was very consistent. But you're right. Like when you're looking at last season, QB1, then QB 17, 24, 5, 25, 5, 34. Like
32 quarterbacks start every week, and he was the fucking quarterback 30. That might have been one of those bye weeks where there was 2 teams off.
It was week 9, so he was probably the lowest quarterback, and that was
starting quarterback for fantasy that fucking week. Incredible.
Yeah.
I'm a big Marvin Jr. fan.
Yeah. And that's why in that range, it's pick your flavor. If I have a Josh Allen as my quarterback 1, I'm fine as Kyler Murray as my quarterback 2. In fact, I'm almost wanting that, because Allen's going to give me such consistent points. I can sustain those 5-point week from Kyler Murray to get those 30-point weeks, and all of a sudden I got 70 points from my quarterback, and good luck beating me. So like it's really choose your flavor in this quarterback 2 range, depending on really what you want or what your team needs, whether it's consistency or this boom or bust upside.
That's valid. I was pointing out
there were 3 games last year. 3 games last year I saw. It was Marvin Jr. It almost looked Photoshop. He was 40 to 50 yards downfield with his hands up in the air, wide open, at least 3 times, and Murray completely missed him. So if you're a Marvin Jr. owner, you should have tacked on like 150 yards and 3 touchdowns onto whatever he did last year. And that was like, can he not see over the offensive line? Does he not know the playbook? Like, how are you not looking for Marvin Harrison 95% of the time?
Yeah.
The next 5 I'm seeing, what do I got here? Cam Ward, Baker, Trevor Lawrence, Michael Penix, Bryce Young, I think. Maybe one of you guys, you want to look at the most current, Patrick? I don't know. That's probably that next 5 in some order, though, right?
Yeah, it's that same order.
Fair.
People are way too low on Baker. Way too low.
I mean, Baker's down there. Like he's a guy that I'd love to get. If 0 quarterbacks risky as fucking super flex, but if you say you went like receiver, running back, and you were getting one of these guys as your quarterback 1, Baker absolutely in this group if I needed like a dude that could potentially get me QB1 stats. We're down this far for a reason. These guys certainly have warts, reasons that they're down there. Cam Ward, love that for any build. Obviously, I think he could be sneaky good. I think people are like overlooking Cam Ward a little bit. He's going fairly late in rookie drafts, in super flex rookie drafts, even being the first overall pick. But yeah, I don't have a super strong take on any of these guys. What do you guys think about this group?
I think
I don't know why Baker's that low.
Yeah, I think Baker's low. I'm also feel that there's some disrespect being played with Dak and Jared Goff not being in the top 20.
Yep.
I think when you look, I think people are underestimating Jared Goff as a quarterback 2 for their team. He has quietly put up quarterback 10, 7, and 6 seasons the last 3 years in Detroit. And I don't think anyone expected that. I don't think anyone is thinking Jared Goff, he can be a quarterback 1 on my team. Like, I think him, and when you look at Dak Prescott, sure, he has injury issues. But when he's playing, Dak Prescott is giving you top 10 quarterback points, top 12, maybe top 14, but most often top 10. That I think these guys just for their, they're older, but just for what they can give you, I have a hard time putting them ahead of some of these other younger guys just because of we're here not to play Dynasty to have all the young guys. We're here to win. We're here to make money. We're here to make it to the Super Bowl and have bragging rights over our league mates. And do you know who did that this last year? Jared Goff.
Jared Goff. Not Dak, but for many years in a row, Dak.
Exactly. And this is the same thing that happens every year with Dak. He gets injured. Dak doesn't do well in the playoffs. Dak goes down in value. And then as soon as week 4 or 5 comes around, everyone's like, oh, I need an early first for Dak. He's doing so well. Like, now's the time to buy these guys because they are being severely undervalued for your competing team. For me, I'd even drop Lawrence out of my top 20. I think he's up there just by name alone. By his name, his draft capital, like, he doesn't deserve to be in the top 20 with how he's performed. Sure, he was injured, but he has not lived up to that. I think there's we're cutting hairs to some extent here, but I think you need to drop some of these players. I think there's some great value here for your competing teams that I think is being undervalued because they're older, maybe a little injury prone, but they can give you some great value.
Dak not performing in the NFL playoffs has zero fuck all to do with your fantasy football team.
100%.
Dak, what's nice about Dak choking in the playoffs? It has no bearing on your fantasy football team. We can worry about make fun of the Cowboys later, but all we care about is week 1 through 17. And let's look back just as far as 2 seasons ago. Not ancient history, just 2 seasons ago. From the second half on, Dak and CeeDee Lamb went on a fucking rocket ship to the moon and won people titles on their backs. There was the 2 of them were just dropping 30-plus burgers each every fucking week. I'm the most bleed green Eagles fan, cowboy hating motherfucker you'll ever meet, and I am happy to have Dak on any one of my dynasty teams. That dude is a great value, and totally agree that you should absolutely take, whether you want to drop Ward out of this list, whether you want to drop Penix out of this list, whether you want to drop T-Law out of this list, it should be Baker, Goff, Dak, who I view as like the same guy kind of almost. Like they're rock solid, producing veterans. I mean, I would say little injury risk because, Dak, other than this one recently, is pretty solid and consistent. Goff and Baker always play. So I like that take as far as those 2 should be in this group.
Have people forgot the Cowboys traded for George Pickens? You've got Lamb, Pickens, Jake Ferguson. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball at all. Like Javonte Williams, he'll never be the same prospect he once was. Miles Sanders is done. Their defense is not very good. They're going to throw a ton. And Dak might be top. I might take Dak over Kyler if I had to draft right now. And then the keep trade cutters, they have Dak way like I think like Brian said, it's cowboy hate, but you have to put aside some differences to win some money and win your leagues and win some bragging rights.
They've got Dak. For what it's worth, Dak's literally QB 21.
Yeah.
But he's just below Young, who's QB 20. And then Goff is literally QB 22. So they're not way behind this group. And I think with keep trade cut, it only refers to Dynasty.
Yeah.
All I really give a shit about most of the year, other than when it's time for my one redraft league. But it's youth, man. People overvalue youth more than anything else out there when it comes to Dynasty. People will look at different players. If the 27-year-old one is clearly better and more proven than the 23-year-old one, they'll still have for the most part, they'll still have the 23-year-old as more valuable because they look at it like, oh man, I'm getting 4 more solid years out of this guy. You're not guaranteed shit. You're not guaranteed them to finish week 1. Look at it for what it is, man. If you're anything but a pure rebuild, disregard the age. You want players that win and score you points and have shown you they can score points and stay healthy. And dudes like Baker and Goff and Dak are it, man. They're proven. They're going to win you fucking weeks and they're going to win you titles.
Yep.
I think Goff's low because everybody's afraid of life without Ben Johnson. What's going to happen? Are they going to forget how to play football, or is he not going to throw to Amon-Ra anymore?
Yeah.
I think they'll still keep the same dynamic. They're not going to change that drastically. I don't know what could possibly be dragging Baker down that low, and I don't know why Penix should be that high. It's a similar conversation to McCarthy, but I think Penix has worse weapons. I can't see how Penix could be this high.
I like, for me, looking in this range, I'm thinking who am I comfortable with to be on my quarterback 2 on my team? Like, if I'm pushing out quarterback, like, who am I starting there? And I'm looking at, I love Dak, I love this Kyler, I love Goff here. Like, for me, Penix, I got Penix higher. Penix is my quarterback 14, 15, just with him being able to. I'm loving quarterbacks that are able to sit for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks to a year, not injured, so that they can practice. And yeah, I know May did that some, but Penix came out firing for Atlanta. And I think it's hard to have him lower. Like, when I'm looking at this, like, would I feel like, for me, I wouldn't feel comfortable with Purdy as my quarterback 2, or Lawrence, or Tua, or McCarthy. Like, that's where I have them lower because, yeah, they have great potential, especially McCarthy as youth. But I'm here to win, and I'm looking at this as who can I use to win. And if I'm looking at Penix as my quarterback 2, or Dak, or Goff, I'm sitting there smiling at the value that I get because I know I can have a better running back, wide receiver, and get Goff later on or Dak later on. And I'm sitting there pretty when playoffs come around.
So I think in the same token, talking about these same guys, you got 2 different directions in Dynasty. You've got rebuilding and you've got contending. I feel like if you're contending and you have a Penix, Cam Ward, a T-Law, I don't know, the younger pieces that we're talking about here, if you can sell them, and you should be able to, going by keep trade cut value, or Goff, Baker, Dak, you can probably get a fucking plus thrown in.
Yeah, get a second.
And you do that on a contender because we don't know what Penix is going to do. We don't, we kind of seen what T-Law is going to do. And the same in the reverse, if you're like a rebuilding team or you took an orphan on and you have a Dak, a Baker, a Goff, things could go wrong with these guys. They're now in 30 or 30 plus, or getting up in that age. If they had a down season or a bad injury, you don't want to be stuck with them on a rebuilding team. So if you can now replace them to a contender for Cam Ward, for Michael Penix, I think it's the perfect yin-yang, situation there. So, find your direction is one of the main first things that I think it's literally the first fucking thing I talked about in our first episode. Know your direction, know your roster, and these guys all being similar in range, it's pretty clear and obvious which of this group you want on which type of team you have.
Oh, exactly. Like if I'm competing, I need that quarterback too. If I can trade, say, Penix in a second for Dak in a
wide receiver or whatever,
yeah, something like that. Like I have people who I tried to get Penix from. I traded the 104 for Penix and it got denied. Like I know some people who are that high on Penix, but you could. That's even better. If you can get Penix in a second for Dak in an early first, like who wouldn't do that on a competing team? Or change Dak for Goff or your whatever flavor of quarterback, Baker, Purdy, Love in that range. Like that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's all about value and the direction of your team as to like we're talking about overall rankings, but in reality, it depends on what your team is aiming for as to who you should be aiming for on this list.
And that's why you want to pay attention to not just Keep Trade Cut, but every major outlet, our rankings, Fantasy Pros rankings, just the main podcast where you hear, who's the flavor of the week, who's trending, et cetera, because whether you give a shit about them or not, or you agree or not, if that's what the majority of the community is thinking, strike while the iron's hot, especially if you disagree with it and you don't think Drake May or Penix or any of these guys are worth what they're going for. All the more reason to sell them, man. Go with your gut. Like, just you gotta pay attention. You gotta stay up on shit like this. If you woke up in coma from 6 months ago, you'd be like, "What? Drake May's the quarterback 7? What the fuck are we talking?" But he is. He literally is, as voted by the people on Keep Trade Cut. Man, it's you gotta do your homework.
Yep.
Am I the only one that likes
I don't dislike Lawrence. I have a lot of Lawrence shares. He certainly got the upgrade with the proven offensive coordinator. Brian Thomas broke out last year, even though it wasn't really with Lawrence, but he broke out. He showed what he can do. And they drafted a defensive back who's pretty good at playing wide receiver at the second overall pick in the draft. And they traded up for him. They're going to use him. I've always had a little soft spot for T-Law. I agree that he should be in this grouping, but I think you and I are probably in the minority when it comes to like having love for Trevor Lawrence. I don't hear that for many people at all.
Yep.
I think people are over him. The luster is gone from his golden locks.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, man, where we're at? We're at a little over an hour. We got through the full top 20. We got to bring up a couple guys that weren't cracked the 20. I'm looking at the rest of the guys just outside the top 20. One or two that I would touch on. Matt Stafford is almost free when it comes to Dynasty. He's a dude that I love to get for dirt cheap on contenders. I think he could have another pop year with Puka and Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Justin Fields,
I can't believe he's that low,
QB24,
given how many people are enamored.
I don't think they're going to do anything as far as trying to replace him unless he gets hurt. So he's going to get this full year to just run around like a maniac and chuck the ball to Garrett Wilson and try to recreate the Ohio State days. So he's a little bit of he's climbed up QB24, but he was kind of a free square I was grabbing for a while there once he got traded and named the starter, and has nothing to do really with his quarterbacking ability, but his proven fantasy. And even with the Steelers last year, he was producing for sure until he got benched for Russ. So I like him.
And even if we look at projections, Fields is projected as quarterback 12 this next year. That if you can get him that cheap, best on you.
Definitely. For sure, man. You guys got any other little thoughts on these QBs maybe not in the top 20? Milroe, I'll throw Milroe. I mean, he's, mid to late rookie second / trade a dart for him type of thing. Like I'll roll a few pieces of dice on Jalen Milroe, he could break fantasy if he gets a couple starts.
Yeah, Milroe's wait 2 years and see what happens type of quarterback. But if you have the taxi squad spot, go for it.
Yeah.
Or Sam Darnold looks like Sam Darnold, and they go, you know what? Fuck it, get in there, Jalen. Let's see what you can do. He runs for 120 and 2 touchdowns one week, and you've got a spicy meatball sitting on your taxi squad.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's not sexy, but I don't think Tua's done yet. I think Mike McDaniels has to be coaching for his life. Tyreek wants to probably auditioning to get traded. He needs to have a really good year. He's still fast. He's still electric. A-Chain is still a top 5, probably has top 5, top 3 upside. The Dolphins time is now to contend, or they have to tear that whole thing down. I think Tua is playing for whatever. He's gonna go out on his terms with his brain intact, I hope. I don't know if he's gonna get a second contract, but I think Tua wants to go out better than what he's seen. They've got the weapons. And I think Daniel Jones is going to be a startable asset. He's always been mobile. He'll get some of the weapons and the offensive line and protection he never got for the Giants. I think Anthony Richardson might be the 3rd string by the end of the year. They've got Pittman, Downs, Tyler Warren. There's a lot of weapons. It's now or never for Jones. So I think those two could be in the 15 to 20 range by the end of the year. And they're free or extremely cheap. I think a lot of people have given up on them.
Tua's gone to the far extreme of dip. Like I think the last couple startups I did, it gets to the point where like Jackson darts off the board and it's down to like Tua, Geno, Stafford are legitimately like the last 3 starting quarterbacks that you can draft. So I'm with you. I think I've never been huge on Tua, and he's risky with the whole concussion thing, and he's fallen off. The Dolphins and that whole thing has fallen off recently, but he's dipped too far. I like him at his price.
I agree. It's make or break here for Tua. I think they really need to open up that offense to actually win, and I think they actually have to trust Tua now, trust their line, trust he's not going to get injured again, and start airing it out. You can't win throwing. What was it? I think he was throwing on average after 2.1 seconds or something like that. Like it was so fast. Like that's not sustainable. You can't win doing that, especially when you have Hill and Waddle who are speedsters. They're not that fast. Like you can't get 40 yards down the field after 2 seconds. Like you need to open it up more. And I think Tua is a good buy low if you're looking for a high risk, high reward type of quarterback on the cheaper end. Like if you're looking for a cheap, high risk, high reward, would you rather go Murray or Tua? Who would you rather pay up for?
You're paying a lot more for Murray. Even with Murray's recent dip in value, you're paying way more for Murray, like multiple rounds in his startup, or a lot more overall value to obtain him. And they both could easily be out after this year. So, yeah, I'm with you. I never even really thought about that, Patrick. But, yeah, man, Tua, at this point, shit, I'll take some Tua shares.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones was QB9 in 2022, and Tua was QB9 in 2023.
There you go.
Small sample size, sure, but as insane as it sounds, those two have been top 10 quarterbacks in the last 3 years. That's
potential.
Life comes at you fast, right?
Yeah, there's potential there for sure.
It sure does, man. Well, I mean, I think that's probably a good note to put a bow on this. We're right about an hour and 10 minutes. I don't think we need to go much deeper marathon on these QBs. I think we touched.
I don't have my Tyler Show notes ready.
Shuck. It's shuck like corn, like you're shucking.
Oh, okay.
Even though it's spelled completely not like that, unless I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it's shuck though.
Well, you guys don't want to go for another hour and do another 2-hour pod?
Yeah, hey, listen, we're going to be doing receivers and running backs, and I'm pretty sure even if we keep those to 20 per episode, those will end up being 2 hours.
I will try not to speak for an hour during the wide receiver one.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. We can all that shit in the end.
Sweet.
Lastly, I'd just like to bring up, not a sponsor yet, but New Belgium Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA. Just wonderful. I'm fresh out. I got one more cold one in the fridge. I'm about to go get it now. But hey, anybody from New Belgium? Delicious. Love to hype you guys up.
Fat Tire is my favorite New Belgium. That's a good one. I'm not the dark beer kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, this is
IPA.
darker. It's like 9%. It's not like a porter or a stout or anything like that. It's just a strong brewski. Thoroughly enjoyed. I think I've had these for every episode so far, so I should probably just keep that.
So.
They'll sponsor us before long.
There you go.
Hopefully. I think they're semi-local to me here in Pennsylvania too, but I have to look into that.
Great.
Good show. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks for tuning in. Next week we'll be doing running backs, and
next week is
head
tight
on
ends.
over to the page. We've got.
Yeah, I think we're doing tight end next week.
We're doing tight ends next week. Unfortunately, Patrick will not be with us next week. He will be sorely missed, but we will be doing our top 20 tight ends next week.
There's 20 tight ends.
Know how much I love tight ends, so tune in for the Gush Love Fest from your boy Castle Black on tight ends next week. I'm just gonna have Valentine's, and it's gonna be nothing but love.
Never Njoku. # Never Njoku.
Anthony Richardson and David Njoku, the fucking Mr. Oviedo top.
Yeah.
Loves him. Can't get him.
I'd quit fantasy football forever. Sorry.
All right, boys. Deuces. Have a good night, Fantasy Holics fam.
Enjoy.
Love y'all. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week.
Good week, y'all.